4 years ago this week, I released my first 4 trading videos on YouTube. Nobody watched them. Did I quit? Of course not. I just kept going. Mama didn't raise no quitter. At least my mama didn't. Perseverance. Noun. Persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. A lot of you have been with this channel for 2 years now, maybe 3, maybe a bit longer than that. And you are still not getting the results you had hoped for. Please understand. Not only is this completely natural, this is also extremely common. You are in the vast, vast majority, and that is okay. Please remember, this is what we have to contend with for the rest of our lives. If you've never watched my videos and you've never seen this before, this is the failure rate of Forex traders across the world. And by that, I mean the percentage of Forex traders who have not achieved their hopes and dreams through Forex trading. All right, it's a very, very small window we are trying to get through. And I'd said this before too. Even though this trading system is superior to everything else out there, if I somehow am able to turn this number into this number, it will go down as the greatest trading system of all time. I mean, that's how significant it would have to be to make a move, and then the number still looks like this. But that does not mean you should quit. Not at all. And we'll talk about why in this video. First of all, understand that it has not been an easy road ever since this channel came out. This channel really came out at, I don't know if I would say the worst time or the best time. But it has been no easy road for Forex traders ever since 2018 especially. And I actually think that's a good thing, because the ones who have made it this far and have just kept going are just galvanized. They're just like made of steel. It can only get better. And once it does, it's going to get really good because they have so many reps under them. They've gained so much great experience through probably the worst market we're ever going to see, that the future looks so, so bright. But up until now, it has not been. And we'll review and kind of go over why that's been the case. But I can also, I think, I can pinpoint your psychological journey through no-nonsense Forex, or I can get it pretty close. And there's a reason why I want to try to predict that. We'll talk about it shortly. But handling long-term failure is something we haven't really gone over yet. We've talked about handling short-term failure, dealing with losses and things like that. But, getting this far and sinking this much time into it and still not getting to where you want to be, again, that is so extremely common. It has nothing to do with you or your aptitude, but it doesn't mean you should just give up now, because there are so many different directions you can take what you've learned, and I don't know if most of you are aware of them. So we'll hit on that a little bit too, but then end with the understanding that just by the sheer numbers, things should get better. I keep saying that, but I don't have a whole lot to base it on. I'm just like, well, it's got to be over someday. But now we're really starting to see signs of a little bit of daylight, seeping through the cracks. And so we will end on a very positive note today. But moving on, check out the disclaimer. It is glorious. Moving on from here. The road up until now has been beautiful, yet treacherous, with so many obstacles in the way, especially for trend traders. It's just been unfair. What we have seen has just been an unprecedented amount of shit all swirling together at the same time. And if you have made it this far, congratulations. There's pretty much nothing you can't handle at this point. What have we had to deal with so far? First of all, just understand it might not be over with. I'm talking like past tense, like we're done with it. That might not be the case. However, we have had just this prolonged period of almost non-existent volume sometimes. And when it comes sporadically, it teases us, and then it goes away. Now, the reasons why mostly have been just an overall exit from cash, which we're Forex traders, foreign exchange. Cash is what we do. And when you take all the interest rates down to zero or near zero or below zero, rich people and funds and companies understand there's really no reason for me to be putting my money in cash when it's not doing anything for me. So they start taking risks and putting it somewhere else where it will actually do something for them. At the very base level, that's been what's going on. And as a result, we have had an unprecedented bull market for a very, very long time in the stock market. Crypto has taken some of our shine. You got to remember, Forex was all the rage for a very long time, and that's where all the scammers were. Now all the scammers are on the crypto side because that's where the people have gone. Now, I do think we're going to see a lot of failed crypto people come back into our market when it's time. I think we're already seeing a lot of that. I've had a lot of people from the crypto world come over to Forex already. I don't know if they're any good at crypto or not, but they're here. So that transition has already been happening about a year or so in advance. So once the Forex market starts getting good again, I can only expect that number to go up, which means we're getting even more volume into the market. But despite all of this, traders, we're still here. A lot of us are still trading every day. A lot of us are still improving our systems, testing indicators, communicating with each other, getting together, automating, anything we have to do to beat this game and to beat that 99.9 percentage, we're still here. But some of you have quit. And may I address you now? So, first of all, let me kind of guess how this all went down. If I'm close, let me know. If I'm way off, you can let me know too. So, before you found this channel, I wouldn't say maybe you were failing, you just weren't getting the results you wanted. There was a lot of frustration, especially when you're using price action tools, and because there's so much margin of error and there's so much ambiguity. You were looking for something else, and so what do? You look for blogs and videos, and you ask other people. And however you found us, and you saw me illustrate your exact frustration points because they were also my frustration points too. And then No Problems Without Solutions, I actually showed you what to do instead. You took those tools, put them out into the market, and guess what? It was a lot better way to trade. It wasn't gaslighting. You saw it with your own two eyes, and you were amazed. And then you thought, wow, okay, I can actually do this. I actually have a real future in this market. For the first time, I actually feel like I can make something out of myself here. And so before you actually started doing, you started dreaming, and you had these really, really high hopes. And you did exactly what we told you not to do. You projected and you extrapolated, maybe 2 or 3 days worth of results into what that would look like per year. And then you said, oh, if I can do this per week or per month or per year, I'm going to have this much money, blah, blah, blah. We all do this. But you probably did that when you first saw this channel, and then you actually had to start trading, and then reality hit. No matter what system you're using, no matter how good it is, there's going to be a lot of losses. And then what do those losses do to your emotions? What do those losses compel you to do later? Probably the wrong thing. And nobody's psychology was right at first. It takes a long time. So, even through that, you said, okay, no, I'm going to continue on. Keep trying this, and I'm going to get better and better and better. And many of you did. That's why you're still here. But for everybody, at some point, reality hits. And reality kind of looks like this. It's a lot more work than you thought. Even though I took away most of the work by showing you the daily chart and how much better that works, you still have to put a system together. You still have to be in front of your computer at a certain time every day. You still have to have a lot of failure in your system before you find something that works. It is a grind. And if you're not consistently improving along the way, don't be surprised when you're not getting the results you want. You just can't stop testing and putting things together. I'm 11, 12 years in. I still do it because I understand. You got to keep getting better, because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And no matter how good you get, you will lose a lot. You will lose trades. You will have losing weeks. You will have losing months. You will have losing years. How do you handle something like that? Because when you were dreaming, you didn't dream this would happen. You didn't dream it would happen this way. You expected it to go completely different, and now the reality hits you. So now what are you going to do? Understand this, traders. The more boring trading becomes, the better off you'll be. Let me kind of take you through a brief history of my trading. When I first started out, I fell in love with Forex, and I said, this is what I want to do the rest of my life, and I'm going to make it work one way or another. And I pretty much pot committed myself at that point. So that's one of the big reasons I never quit, because I already made that decision. I burned the boats. There was no going back. But those first early years, I was just trying to find my way, a ton of failure, but it was so exciting and it just consumed me so much. But because of that, I was trading with a lot of emotion, and there was really no way I was ever going to get good. Over time, I just kind of buckled down so much, and I did so much testing, and I didn't care if the testing was successful or not, because I was just going to keep trying and trying and trying. So I kind of stopped caring about the result. Once I did that, the trading got really good. And so at that point, it was hard not to care, because I was actually seeing real success consistently for the first time ever. And inside, dude, I just wanted to explode. But I knew that wasn't the move. I was like, look, keep doing exactly what you're doing. Don't mess this up. And so that was just the headspace I was in for a good probably 1-2 years while I was getting really good results. And then I took those results to a prop firm, passed their interview, passed their training, passed their test, became a prop firm trader. And that was really the end goal. That is all I wanted. That was my ticket out of restaurants, was doing that instead. So I finally get there. Now, the one thing you don't want to do when you get there is, lose your position. But I almost did. Why? Well, because I was trading like a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders. Again, this is my ticket out. If I ruin this chance, it may never come back. Now, how do you think a trader with the weight of the world on his shoulders trades? Like an emotionless robot? Of course not. I was a wreck. I would make little mistakes and I would compound them. I kept thinking, man, what are these guys thinking of me right now? Truth is, they're not thinking about me at all. But, all of these emotions were swirling around in my head, and that was the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 reason why I almost lost my position at Maverick. But I reverted back to what worked. I had a real hard talk with myself. Like, look, it's not going to feel right, but do exactly what you were doing before and do nothing else. And here we are. Now, I think right now I am as good of a trader as I've ever been. Maybe I don't quite get the results I did back when the market was going crazy, but success-wise, I think I'm better now than I've ever been, and we'll talk about why, because I think it's really important to go over that. But we're not going to do it yet. For now, we're not going to talk about me for a few minutes here. We're going to talk about you. Here's something else you have to understand. You probably set a time frame for your own success. I don't think anybody starts and gets all excited and says, I'll be successful when I'm successful. Now, you probably think, 2-3 years from now, I'm going to be this, or I'm going to have this much money, or I'm going to start getting this type of result year over year. Everybody is guilty of this. But nobody ever really gets there. You're not running your own race, and you should be doing that. You probably see these other people, join prop firms 2 years in, which I've said before, I think is too early. You see people in the comment section talking about the success they have. and it's not the success you're getting, and it bothers you. But you got to understand, you're not competing against them. It's great. We're not competing against anybody in Forex trading. We're running our own race. You need to understand that. If it takes you 5 or 6 years, great. That's that much more experience you're going to bring to the table once you finally do go pro. And how long you plan to live? 40, 50, 60 more years? You can delay this process by about 2 or 3 more. It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to make you stronger. It's only going to make you better once you finally get there. But you're also still doing a lot of things I told you not to do. I guarantee this is the case. I think very few people that are not having the success they thought 2, 3 years down the road are doing things to the letter the way I instructed you to do. Now, you can kind of create your own path along the way, but we're talking more about the money management and psychology part of things. I don't think you're just going to become a trading psychology Zen master 2, 3 years in. It's almost impossible. So there are still mistakes you're making now that you will not be making down the road if you keep trading. Too many of you just quit way too early. Or you took a year off or 6 months off, whatever the case was. Big mistake, guys. Let's go into quitting a little deeper here because I think we need to. My arrows aren't working. Moving on. So there's the old saying, if you're going through hell, keep going. Like we said before on the Forex Q&A podcast, quit and go back to the drawing board and come up with a new system only if you hit max drawdown. Go to my channel, go to the search box and type in drawdown, and it should take you right to that episode if you don't understand how that works. But that was the only time that I gave you the green light to quit. Beyond that, even if you're at this point, you're still a break-even trader, or even if you're losing, you need to keep trading because there's nothing but upside ahead if you do. The market will improve someday, and once it does, where will you be? Those who didn't quit and that got those reps in and that got that experience, no matter how good or how poorly their trading actually did, they're going to be so far ahead of you that you're going to be constantly playing catch up to a market you should be ready for. And you're not going to be ready. You need as much experience as you possibly can. This was the most slept on episode of my entire trading series because it's all intangible. You can't visualize it, which makes it very hard to explain. But yes, you need to be trading every single day, even if your account is going nowhere but down almost every single day. Why? Well, because once the market gets good, like we just said, you're going to be ready for it. You're going to have a ton of reps in to where people who quit have a lot less reps than you, and they're going to be behind the 8 ball when the market comes that they should have been ready for this entire time. I cannot explain this any better, and I'm good at explaining things, but I'm even struggling with this. That's how hard it is to project to you how important experience is. And those of us who have trudged through these waters the last 4 years and just kept going anyway, when this market comes, let me tell you something. It's going to be so amazing. The hardest thing you're going to have to do is to actually hold your emotions back because it's finally going to get good, and you have not experienced that much before. At least not, consistently month after month. But you're going to need that. And you're not going to have that if you quit. So consider this also. The world's largest tech companies, whether you love them or hate them, they have all the money in the world, all the power in the world. And they didn't get here without levels of adversity that you and I will never experience in our entire lives. The PR hits they've taken, the amount of times their stock has cratered, the amount of times they've gotten sued, the amount of time their own governments have gone after them, and they're still here because they kept going. They knew what they had. They knew it was great. This is 10 cents. It's going off the screen. And that's the reason why they are where they are. All right. So if you need another way to conceptualize all this, just understand that nobody gets great at anything without being able to run through those failures without quitting. At no point in time did any of these companies quit. Could you imagine if they did? This is universal across the board. No matter what you do from here on out, even if you don't trade Forex, whatever it is you do, all of this applies. You're going to face adversity. You're going to want to quit. And it's the people who didn't quit that made it. I'm telling you, as a YouTuber, so many great YouTube channels out there that just, they weren't getting the results they wanted about 6 to 8 months in, but that's not how YouTube really works. That's not how Google works. And I guess they didn't realize that. And they're like, all right, well, I don't want to waste any more of my time. I'll go do something else. If they only kept going, so many of these people could be the names that we all know today. Now, I want to share a little something with you that I said I was going to mention earlier. Let me tell you how I trade right now, because I think there's some takeaways from that. Now, I just got done telling you about 10 minutes ago that I am probably at a level to where I'm trading better than I ever have my entire life. And it's been this way for years. Now, why is this? Well, I don't expect you to get into this headspace anytime soon because I've probably been through more in 11 or 12 years of this. It's just natural. But my technical analysis is as good as it's ever been because I keep improving on my system, even though I don't make a ton of changes anymore. It's very sporadic and it doesn't happen very often, but it does get better, and it's better than it's ever been. My money management's easy. I got the playbook. I just follow it, close my eyes and do it. But psychologically, which we have pretty much concluded is the most important thing out there, I'm pretty much at the top of my game, mainly because I just don't care about Forex trading anymore. I don't. I've been doing it every day for 12 years. It just doesn't excite me. This is almost like kind of like my wife. I still love her, but I don't get the same feels that I do, back when we were first dating. This is just, it's just what it is. It's no longer my one ticket out, so I don't put as much, thought and excitement into it because I do a bunch of other things now. And so I don't have to rely on it to get me out of the hospitality industry. It already did that. So I don't look at it the same way. Nowadays, it's just a chore. Even though it's only 15 minutes a day, for me, it's more like 5 or 10 minutes a day. It's kind of like that commercial. I'm dating myself, like that commercial in the 80s, the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. The guy gets up all drowsy and he's like, oh, time to make the donuts. That's kind of how I feel about Forex trading nowadays. You almost never hear me talk about it, and it's because I got new girls in my life. I have crypto, I have commodities, I have other businesses, just macroeconomics, things that I'm really into right now because Forex trading has just become so automatic and so easy now that I don't care if my results go up and down, but that's why it works. I did not have a good year in 2019. And I didn't really care much about it. I'm like, this was just a really bad year. It is what it is. 2020 is probably going to be better. And it was. It didn't really bother me. I did take kind of a step back and say, well, maybe if it stays this way, I'll have to change a couple things. But it didn't. I had a whole down year at a stage in my career where I shouldn't be having years like that. But I didn't care because I knew it would get better. And it just did. That's how kind of OG I am at this stage. And I think if you can just, I don't know how you would do it, but kind of magically put yourself in that position, I think you're going to be fine. Now, we've talked on the old podcast about having multiple streams of income, which I think is really important anyway, but also takes a lot of emotion out of Forex trading, assuming that was the one other thing apart from your job that you were doing. Because for the longest time, it is your one ticket out, or at least so you think. But when you have other ways you can go, you start caring about your results less. And if you can care about your results less, yet still consistently do it and still consistently improve, that's kind of a magic combination right there. And that's where I feel like I'm at right now. And when the market gets good again and I start hitting record results year over year, I'm not going to feel any different. I'll be like, yeah, you know what? This was supposed to happen. It's just how it goes. But look, again, you're not me, I'm not you. So let's talk about you a little bit more. Here's a really good way, if you want to screenshot this or take notes, a really good way to look at things from here on out. All right? This is how I think, but this is how everybody should be thinking. When it comes to long-term results. You got a bad month, so what? Bad months happen to everybody. The best Forex trader to ever live had not only bad months, they had a string of bad months. Happens. You had a great month, so what? You're not that good. Did you hit 10% in a month? Good for you. You're probably not going to see those results again for a long time. Don't think that you're better than you actually are. It's a very long game. Bad months happen, but great months do too. You just got to take a step back and let it all happen. If you had a great year, and we're talking, those averages we shoot for, the Warren Buffett 20%, something like that. If you beat Warren Buffett one year, it could just be a really good year. It could be a year where everything just clicked right for your system. You should not expect years like that to continue. I feel like this has happened to some people. They thought they could just take over the world because in 2020, they had like a 26% return year over year. And they're like, well, this is just how it's going to be the whole time. And then 2021 came, and it wasn't that way. And now they're deflated. Now they want to quit. It's not the way to go. You just can't get too high or too low with this stuff. If you have a horrible year, horrible years happen too. They happen to great traders. They happen to great companies. You see a lot of these famous investment people on TV, and there's years where they lose their ass. But 5, 10 years down the road, they ended up way, way ahead. Because they are great investors. It's the same with trading. Horrible years can happen. 2 in a row can happen, especially when you have no experience in this system. And 1 or 2 years is good, experience-wise, but it's not great. You need to keep going. Just keep doing what I'm doing, which is trading every day, but not caring about the result. If you become a professional prop trader and it takes the place of your actual job and you live out your dreams, then that's awesome. If it falls short and you don't get to live out your Forex trading dreams, then that's okay too. It was probably bound to happen, but at this point, you've put together a system that you know that works. You just got to let it do what it does despite the results. Bad month, great year, horrible year, doesn't matter. Just keep on trading and keep on improving. We see all these videos and read all these books about being the greatest of all time and chasing excellence and doing all this. That's great, but when it comes to trading, there's usually too much emotion that comes along with all that. And emotion just gets in our way. So diligence plus apathy is, in my opinion, probably the best equation out there for long-term success as a trader. Be a beast behind the scenes, but when it comes to your actual trading, whatever it is whatever it's going to be. Do you think you can do that? Do you think you can actually put your head in that space? Do you think you can work like a demon putting together a system and improving on your system, but then when it comes to actually trading and watching your money go up and down, you can just turn it all off and not give a raging shit about the result? Because if you can, I like your chances going forward. So real quick, let's talk about prop trading. That is the goal for a lot of people here. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about prop trading. My arrows still don't work. There we go. It's not flashy. It's not what it is advertised to be. Professional Forex trading in general, no matter which route you go, doesn't really look like this. Can we all agree at this point? They sell us one thing, but the reality is completely different. It's not even that impressive when you're talking to other people. When I first joined a prop firm, I wanted to tell everybody, but I did, and they had no idea what I was even talking about. I had to sit there and explain it to them. You meet a girl for the first time, they're going to ask you what you do, and I would tell them I'm a professional Forex prop trader, like I was all big and bad, and they don't know what that is. And so I had to explain it, and then 20 seconds later, they were just bored. It's a little easier nowadays. I just tell them I'm a YouTuber, and that usually solves that problem. But you get the idea. There's what is advertised to us, and there's the image we always have in our heads before we actually get there, and then we get there, and things are quite a bit different. Here's the reality of prop firms if you don't already know. It is a whole different type of psychology that you're going to have to wrestle with, and you're going to have to wrestle with it for the first time. I can sit there and talk about my experience. I can say this to you right now, but this wave is still going to hit you no matter what. And you are going to have to find a way to deal with it. I can give you the answer like I just did, but it still might not matter. All right, you're just going to have to actually put in the reps and get the experience of being a professional prop trader for the first time, and you got to get over that. And just understand, too, that most people don't make it. It's a high turnover business. But all the same, don't make the mistake I made. Don't sit there and think this was your one shot. All right, it's not 8 Mile. You don't get one chance. You actually get many chances. If you don't make it, that's fine. There's lots of different ways to take the experience you have at the prop firm and leverage it towards something else. Could be another prop firm. Could be an actual brick and mortar firm. Could be something totally different. But the experience, it's not going to feel this way at the time because you spent the money and the time and everything to get in there, and now you're not there anymore, and it sucks. I get it. But I'm telling you, long term, when you look back on it, the experience you gained is going to be so valuable. You're going to be so much stronger than you would have been had you not done it. And it was not time poorly spent. It was time very well spent. But understand, just like that 99.9%, the odds are against you here too. Don't let it affect you too much if you make it to a prop firm, but you don't last. All right? It's actually common. It's supposed to happen. Don't take it personally. Get that experience, dust yourself off, and move on. We've talked about what you should be doing at this stage of the game for longevity's sake. But if you are still not where you want to be at this point, I've always tried to do a really good job of telling you what to do, but also telling you what not to do. You've seen this throughout all my videos. So during this slide, let me be very clear. This is what you should not be doing. And if you find yourself doing these things, eliminate them immediately because they are toxic and they're going to hinder your growth going forward. And you have come too far to allow your growth to be hindered at this stage over something stupid. All right? First of all, we talk about that 99.9% fail rate. And if you are in that 99.9% right now, you are not a failure. Even if you never make it, you are not a failure. Do not conflate the two. I fail at things all the time. I've never once considered myself a failure. Because first of all, the game is far from over on the Forex front. Second, you can go so many different directions with this, even if you just stop now, which I don't recommend you do, but you have more options than you think you do. On top of that, think of all you've learned up to this point. Think of the skills you have acquired through trading, through this particular system, that so many people don't have, that so many people are going to struggle with later in life that you're just going to be able to do automatically. I don't think people take this into consideration. They're like, well, I wanted to be a professional Forex trader. A whopping 2 years in, I'm not one. Therefore, my dreams are completely shot. And I have to start over again at a later stage in my life. It's a horrible way to think. First of all, you didn't allow yourself enough time at all. You need to do this for maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 more years before you get really, really good. This is a very long-term game. I have stressed this to you over and over again. But you have gained a ton of skill, whether you realize it or not, and you probably apply this skill every day without even thinking about it. And that's just how traders are. Traders that have been doing this for a while, that have gotten better and better and better, I can almost tell just by talking to somebody if they've learned a skill over time through trials and tribulations and failure, because things just don't bother them the way they bother other people. So focused on what you have accomplished instead of what you have not yet accomplished. Above anything, please don't blame your instructors. We didn't do this. I get people in the comments section all the time. They're like, you really don't need to show your disclaimer. We're not idiots. We take responsibility for our own actions. We're all grown-ups here. It's pretty pointless. I'm like, you're that way. Most people are that way. Not everybody is that way. I've gotten blamed for a lot of things in 4 years of doing this, by people who might have just been acting out of emotion at the time, or people who are just that way. It said 275,000 subscribers. Chances are at least 5,000-6,000 of them minimum are just going to be the type of people that point the finger at others when things don't go their way. There's a lot of people out there like that right now. So you just can't control that. But I always tell the story of my 1 year, give or take, when I tried to learn ICT system back in like 2011, 2012. So I've talked about ICT before, Inner Circle Trader, very famous Forex trader, does pure price action. And I tried to learn his system, and it just did not take. And that was super frustrating for a couple reasons. One, I saw a lot of people in those rooms that were absolutely picking up what he was putting down and putting it to really good use, and they were just loving everything. And I wasn't doing that. And I've always had trouble learning certain things, but Forex was not one of those things. Anything Forex related was very easy for me to absorb, and I just wasn't absorbing this. Plus, I couldn't test any of it, so I didn't really know if it was working. I couldn't measure it. That's just not like the way I like to do things. But I didn't sit there and say, ICT, you've wasted 1 year of my life. How dare you? That's ridiculous. Now, every time I would get frustrated, I would start looking for other ways to do things. And that's how I discovered all these other indicators. And that's why I'm talking to you right now. And oh, by the way, guess where the big banks concept came from originally? Came from ICT. Became pretty much the backbone of the way I traded ever since. So it certainly wasn't time poorly spent, Then from a YouTube perspective, it became my largest video by far, that whole concept, because it is that important. So I could have sat there and just pissed and moaned and thrown hate on the guy in every form I could find for the next 7-8 years and just be miserable. Or I could take the positives that were there, and there were two: the big banks concept and my own frustration, and turn it into something great. That's what I did. Winner's mentality, traders, not loser's mentality. Years down the road, when it's all said and done, if you still don't get to that place you want to get to, understand you have learned a lot, and you can do a lot with it. What else do I even have on this slide? Oh, exactly. Use what you did learn, which I just said. And don't ever fail to consider your options, guys. There are so many different routes you can take. We've already talked about them on this channel. Let's talk about them a little more. Let's get you excited. So for one, just keep trading. You can do that and still become great, even though you're not great now. Okay, that is still on the table, and it will not stop being on the table for many years ahead. But we've already talked about this, so let's go further. You can start automating things if you're not doing that already. I don't expect you guys to be psychological killers at this point. You're still going to be flawed from that perspective. It's still going to drag you down in certain ways. We've spoken before how one of the benefits of automation is it does eliminate the psychology part and a lot of the money management part too, because those two things go hand in hand. Bad psychology leads to bad money management. If you just let an automation tool do it, That's one way. If all else fails, try that. I did a whole automation video, I did a whole automation blog. There's people here who can help and are willing to do that. Use that resource if you have to. But if you want to stay discretionary, that's fine. You can still carry these principles over to investing as well. Trade on one side, invest on the other side. And if one is successful and the other one's not, it's not that big of a deal, because at least you have some success going on somewhere, and you're not spending all of your emotion on the one thing that's failing. You guys probably know I have an investing podcast right now. We're having a great time over there. We're making money. It's fun. It's exciting. But most of us still trade on the side. At the same time, you can certainly do both, and I recommend you do. You can also offer your services. We've talked about this before. There are people who have never heard of this channel or this way of trading that would love to know what you have learned here. And it's totally fine as long as you don't pretend like it's your idea. If you take what you know and offer those services to other people. People have already done this. I get emails saying, I got a contract with this guy and this company, teaching them some of the things that you've taught me. Thank you for that. I'm like, well, no, you're the one who took the initiative and went out and found these places when so many people are just sitting at home looking at the ceiling saying, how do I leverage this? You took action. That's on you. And on top of that, there are 3 dozen YouTube channels that are spin-offs of this channel, and a lot of them are doing really well. I don't know how well they're actually doing in their trading, but they're building their channel and they're helping other people, and they have made something out of that. And it wouldn't have happened had they had not taken what they learned here and actually did something with it, And if you don't want to be a public figure on YouTube, you don't even have to do that. Shoot, Dan Stone from Stonehill Forex is on my automation video. He just has a blog, and people love that blog. He tests indicators all the time, and he posts the results, and he's getting a lot of traction too. There's so many different ways to do this, and if you're still stuck for ideas, allow me to come to the rescue again. We're going to have a video on the opportunities that you can leverage simply by what you have learned here. But do not wait for that video. Get aggressive now. Options are great. Put yourself out there. Those are the people who are going to win. I don't think having a job in the 2020s is going to be the safest way to go. I think we've kind of seen that play out already, right? Even if you survived up until now, how comfortable do you really feel about that? You got to ask yourself these questions. Have options. You have the ability to have options, especially now. So go do that. But I'll help you along the way when I can. Now, but when it comes to the Forex market in general, I'm pretty positive on it. I think the future looks pretty bright. And for the first time in a long time, I have actual hardcore reasons to feel that way. So let's talk about that. For those of you who stuck with Forex trading throughout all the highs and lows and got those reps and got that experience, I think your day's coming. Here's why. People are losing faith in the stock market, like for real now. A lot of it's all the external things that are happening on the side. But whatever the reason is, I don't think the dips are just temporary dips. We're going to go back to all-time highs. Famous last words. You're probably 0 for 40 in calling the top in the last, 4 years. But I think you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. And we have real fundamental reasons to believe now that the best may be behind us when it comes to the American stock market. Interest rates are going back up. They already have the schedule out for this, and they have said that there's about a 50% chance that we're going to see 9 rate hikes, 9 very small rate hikes for the United States dollar in the next year and a half. Now, this is probably already factored into price. I don't worry about that so much. But what's good about that is what we talked about before. People will now have a reason to go back into cash. They're going to have a couple reasons. One is fear. Cash wins the fear trade all day. When people panic, they go to cash first and then gold. But it's always cash first. But on top of that, now their cash is actually going to be doing something. So you're going to see a lot more people entering the market to earn interest on that cash, and carry traders will be back. You guys remember learning about carry trading in baby pips? There's a reason why I never talked about it, because by the time my channel came along, it really stopped being a thing for the most part, because interest rates dropped so low. You used to have 4.25 or 4.5% interest rates on the Aussie dollar and really low interest rates on something like the yen. So people would just go long Aussie yen for a long-term trade or an investment, pocket that 4%, and if the Aussie actually got stronger against the yen, then all the better. And if it got weaker, well, you still had that 4% buffer. It was really nice. Carry trading was a big deal back in the day. And we may start to see a little bit of it again. And that's great, because that puts that much more liquidity into our market. The stuff has ripple effects, guys. And we mentioned this a little bit before, too. You have crypto people who just aren't going to make it. No matter how well the market actually does, most of them are still going to find a way to lose money, and they're going to need somewhere else to go, and Forex will be waiting for them with open arms. Hopefully by then they'll figure it out, but that's not really our problem. We just want their liquidity because we need the old EVZ to go up, and once it does, even a little bit will make a very large difference. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did an entire video on this. I've mentioned it maybe 4 or 5 times in the past, especially when talking about volume. It's a sneaky little tool that we use here at No Nonsense Forex, and it makes a big difference. And a little move, let's just say if we can average maybe 7.5, 8 on it from here on out, that's all I ask. We'll probably get more, but if we can just go there, expect to see everybody's trading get a lot better. I think the future's pretty bright. I really do. In conclusion, don't quit, ever. Keep going, even if you're not doing well. Getting those reps in and getting that experience is more important than anything else you will do up until this point. Don't be reliant on Forex, because when you're not, you don't worry about the results as much, and that's exactly how you should feel about it, because caring too much is going to get you wrecked. It got me wrecked. As soon as I stopped caring about the result, things got a lot better. But the reason for that is because I had other avenues to go over time, and I want the same for you. Understand there's going to be more failure going forward, though. Even if the market gets better, if your trading doesn't get better, don't think you're just a bad trader or there's something wrong with your system. Just keep going. Most of you are only 2 years into this thing, max. You have such a long way to go. But trade diligently. Don't just think you can screw off when it comes to putting your system together, or don't think you just don't have to show up 15 minutes before the end of the candle to do your trading. You still have to do all that. I still have to do all that. And if I got to do it, you got to do it. Work hard, but do it with no concern for the outcome. Such a dichotomy, right? Do you think you can do it? Try your best. But just understand, you do have options. Win or lose, overall, in the trading game or the investing game, you have learned a lot here. And what you have learned is pretty valuable to other people. They would like to know some of that too, or they would at least like to utilize it for their own benefit. So no matter what happens, now or in the future, just understand it's never over. You have options. You have options all the time. It's never over. What's also never over is this channel. We got more to go. But these videos no longer come out with any real regularity. So if you haven't yet, you're really going to want to subscribe and hit that bell, or else you might miss it. And we don't want that. Now, we do have a great investing podcast now that does come out regularly. You should be on top of that for sure. But definitely get notified, because you're not going to want to miss that opportunities video. And I got a couple other tricks up my sleeve before this whole thing goes to bed. But in the meantime, never stop trading, never stop learning, never stop exploring your options. Keep at it, persevere, and go get it.